Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening to you who attended physically this year. And to those joined virtually, welcome to PNSQC 2022. And I'm glad to be here again this year. My name is Felix. And today I would like to talk to you about the formal technical review process enhancement. Let me have a brief introduction for myself. I'm a software quality engineer from Intel, focused on software product quality, process improvement, and software practice auditing. Previously, I worked in Motorola Solutions and was mainly involved in software testing, software product quality, supplier engagement, and business process improvement. I hold a degree in computer science from the University of Bolton in the UK. I'm a certified Lean Six Sigma Green Belt from Motorola Solutions since 2019. And I'm a certified CSQE from ASQ since 2022. I'm the main author for this paper. The other three members are Wei Wei, Mei Chen, and Keping. And we have collaborated closely for the past few months and managed to complete this paper on time. Let me start my presentation to you by providing you with what I will cover for today's topic. I will briefly talk about what is the formal technical review, FTR, and what is covered under the FTR. I will move on and touch on the FTR objectives, which will cover the 4 important elements. Then I will go through the different phases, the different types of review, including the formal reviews. Then I will introduce you to the phases of FTR so that you will have an idea about how the FTR process is formed. Then I will move on to the FTR role and responsibility, which is one of the important items in the FTR process. I have some tips to guide you on how to conduct an effective FTR. Then I will jump to the core items of this topic, the recommended FTR process enhancement, which will cover both the guidelines and tools. The review metrics topic will generally provide you with some guidance on the user experience, benchmarking, and show you the sample quality data collected. And finally, I will conclude the topic and share the key takeaways. Probably many of you are aware of what is FTR. So what is the FTR and what is this used for? The formal technical review FTR is a software quality control activities. Generally, FTR is used for document review to ensure that the software meet the specific requirements and the predefined standard. The FTR process is one of the important elements in guiding software quality release and reducing the unnecessary costs to fix the mistake incurred in the project. In order to meet this criteria, we need to implement an effective FTR process to ensure that the successful delivery of the project so the organization can benefit from the success. Well, as you all know, every implementation is tied to the respective objective. Let me begin with the FTR objective. In our topic today, there are 4 main objectives for carrying out the FTR process. Defect discovery. This is to discover the defect in function, logic, or implementations of the software. Unified software implementation and archiving. This is to implement and archive the software in a uniform manner. Traceable. This is to make the project more traceable, such as the feedback and the verifications of the changes are stored in a consolidated repository. And last but not least, meeting the requirements and predefined standard. This is to ensure the software implementation meet the requirements and predefined standard. I understand that there are many types of reviews available. However, in this topic, I'm only focusing on the two main review types, which are the formal and the informal reviews. I summarize and make a comparison between these two types of reviews so everyone have a better understanding and focus on the criteria fulfilling each of the review. The formal reviews is normally used by a professional team that identifies and correct error, while the informal review is used to detect defects, generate ideas, or quickly resolve minor problems. Formal reviews mainly involve in a larger group of participants. The review is scheduled beforehand, which means that officially sending an email invitation and fixing a time, and sufficient time is given to the team members for preparation. Formal reviews generally follow the process with specific formal agenda. Informal reviews involve a smaller group of participants and don't necessarily need to fix a time. They can be scheduled at any time at team members' convenience. Informal reviews can be conducted per the need of the team with informal agenda. Let me drill further into the different types of informal review. Of the formal review. There are three different types of the formal review, which are the walkthrough, inspections, and technical review. Let me quickly walk you through each of them and their goals. Walkthrough. It is led by the author to understand and collect the comments. The contents of the document is explained step by step by the author to accomplish agreements on changes or to gather the information. The participants are chosen from different departments and backgrounds. If the audience represents a broad sections of skills and discipline, it can give a guarantee that no crucial defects are missed. It is helpful for higher level documents, such as the requirement specification and architecture document. The goals of the walkthrough, it is a preliminary reviews of the work product, either the first draft or a clean code compounds, and present the document to the stakeholder both within and outside the software discipline, evaluate conformance through a standard and gather the information. It describes and gauge the contents of the document and initiate a basic understanding of the document and inspect, discuss the validity of the suggested solutions and feasible alternative. And for the inspection, this is the most formal review type and led by a trained moderator to identify the issue in a work product. The documents under inspection is prepared and checked thoroughly by the reviewers before the meeting by using the rules and checklists. And in the inspection meeting, the defect found are captured. The main goal is to add a search anomaly. It helps the author to enhance the quality of the documents by detecting the potential defects and removing the defects efficiently and rapidly. It creates a common understanding by exchanging the information among the inspection participants. Technical review. The review focuses on the technical content of a document and is led by a trained moderator or a technical expert. The review is intended to identify the discrepancy in specification and standard and focus on the defect identification. The review A participant can be technically qualified personnel such as the architects, chip designers, and key user. This is openly performed as a peer review without management participation. The main goal of the technical review is to determine the suitability of the work product for its intended use. It assesses the benefit of the technical concept and alternative in the product and the project environment, and set a uniformity in the use and representations of the technical concept, gain consensus, and build the confidence in the product. It ensures an early state that the technical concepts are used precisely. And this presentation is focusing on the technical review. Next, let me brief you on the different phases of the FTR process. In general, there are 6 phases of the FTR process, and it begins with planning, then move on to the kick-off, preparation, review meeting, rework, and finally the follow-up. During the planning phase, the author will submit a request for review through the available FTR tools by filling up all the necessary information required, and to provide the sufficient information to the reviewers to have an offline review prior to the official FTR meeting. The main purpose of the kick-off phase is to get all the participants in sync and understand the intentions of the kick-off. For example, the review and its expectation. During the presentation phase, the reviewer will start to have an offline review of the documents and log the issue into the FTR tool. This issue will be discussed and the validity of the issue will be decided. Upon the reviews done, the author will revise the document and rework based on the comment captured. In the follow-up phase, the moderator will ensure all the exit criteria are met. Knowing just the different phases of the FTR process is insufficient to conduct the FTR activity. We must also know the different role and responsibility to supplement the entire FTR process. So there are 6 important roles defined for the FTR process. The author. The author is the owner of the document under review. The author needs to ensure the readiness of the work product for the review. The author will limit the numbers of participants and insist upon advanced preparation. Only the related participants are invited. And he or she will create a checklist and ensure the review meeting is conducted more structurally and only focus on the critical issue. Assign the resources and time to ensure the FTR is scheduled throughout the software development life cycle. A reviewer. Reviewer is to review the work product and scrutinize the document in accordance with the business specification, standard, and domain knowledge, and verify the work product's completeness, correctness, and make suggestions. The reviewer will ensure the defects are pointed out constructively and avoid finger pointing, insulting, and validating. Moderator. Moderator, also known as the review leaders, organize and lead the review process by setting the agenda accurately and trying to keep the reviews on track and on schedule. The moderator will also control the timing of the meeting when it starts drifting. He or she should not attempt to solve any problem. A review is not a problem-solving section. Separate the problem areas acknowledge the problem and solve the problem after the review meeting. Ensure the review discussion is focused on the work product and not the author. Restrain argument and rebuking. When an issue is raised by a reviewer, there may not be a general agreement on its impact. Record down the issue offline and then send for the offline discussion instead of wasting time debating the question. Involve the relevant party to follow up on the issue discussion after the meeting. If the involved party can't come to an agreement, then assign it to the program manager to make the final decision. A reader. A reader means function is to read the work product in the review meetings. Recorders' job are to write the notes and record the defects, make suggestion or feedback during the review meetings after the consensus is reached. And program manager. Program manager is to ensure that the reviewing meeting is effective. Formal training shall be provided to the participant. These are some of the tips on how to conduct an effective FTR. An effective FTR ensures the improvements of the software quality by detecting the defects upfront, either due to miscommunications or the human error, to reduce the risk of the extra effort and the cost that might potentially be incurred to the project. The first, the review meeting. Every review meeting shall be conducted by considering the involvement of the people in the review, and sufficient advanced preparation is allocated. Normally, it's approximately 2 hours per person for the preparation, and focus on the small modules. At the end of the review, all the participants must either accept or reject the work product due to the technical issue. The second, review reportings and record keeping. During the review meeting, the recorder actively captures all the issues and the feedbacks. All these issues and feedback are consolidated, and review findings are summarized and shared with the stakeholder. Third, the review guidelines. A well-defined review guidelines to be created and distributed in advance. Normally, it's 1 or 2 weeks before the FTR take place. To ensure the effectiveness, all the participants shall review the document prior to the official meeting. And fourth, the FTR role and responsibility, which I have just described in the previous slide. This is the core of the topic today, is about the recommended FTR process enhancement. The FTR process is not something that is carved in stone, and different people will have a different interpretation and expectation. The FTR process enhancement discussed below is based on the actual work experience, which we believe will further assist the organizations to streamline their resources, time, and budget in software project management. We discuss and focus the process enhancement on 2 specific areas. That is the FTR guidelines and FTR tools. Let me talk about the FTR guidelines. There are 4 areas in the FTR guidelines that can be enhanced. Let me brief you one by one. Review checklist. You must create a separate template for the review checklist for documentation and make the review checklist a mandatory activity for each review so that the reviewers can fill up the checklist to ensure nothing is forgotten in the review process. Merging role and responsibility. It is to keep the review meeting participant as lean as possible and combine some of the FDR role and responsibility with no conflict of interest. For example, the moderator, readers, and recorder's role can be handled by one person, and the author and moderator should not be handled by one person. Avoid misjudgment and achieve uniformly consensus. The author of the FDR is not allowed to close the defect and comment by themselves. They must be verified and closed by the submitter or the other reviewers to ensure that no bias. And define specific role coverage for the reviewer. The team can identify who are the upstream and the downstream reviewers. And upstream reviewers normally ensure the specification meet the customer's requirement. For example, the roles of the software manager, project leads, quality manager. And for the downstream reviewer, must ensure the software implementation meet the specification. And the role fall under this category can be a developer, a feature architect, or a peer. Next, let me cover the FDR2 enhancement. We have identified recommended area for the FDR2 enhancement. The first is the consolidation ability. The FDR2 should be able to group the defects or feedback based on severity from the highest to the lowest, and to always prioritize the discussion on the critical issue. And based on the similarity, it helps to identify the duplication to reduce the repeat discussion and deprioritize the don't need to discuss defect. For example, the cosmetic issue, such as the spelling error, spelling mistake, or the format error. This will help to shorten the review meeting duration and only focus on those important items. The second, email notification ability. The FDR2 should be able to automatically trigger an email notification when the review is scheduled. All the new changes, such as the role and responsibility or the date, should trigger another email notification as an update. The third, one report generation. The FDR2 should be able to present the work progress status, the percentage of open, percentage closed, percentage work in progress, and percentage not an issue via the one-touch report generation. This will help to create a quick insight or a summary of the overall status of the project reporting. The fourth, the capability of versioning and tagging. The FDR2 should be able to tag the versioning accordingly based on the milestone release and able to compare the delta between the two different versions with just a few clicks. For example, the R1.0 is for alpha, R1.5 is for beta, and R2.0 is for the official release. This will provide quick summaries of what has been changed in between the current and the previous releases. The fifth, the ability to log the reviewing efforts. The FDR2 should be able to capture all the reviewers' review duration. This will provide a reference point and help to estimate the effort estimate needed for a similar review in the future. The sixth, the grammar and spelling tackle. The FDR tool should be able to detect any spelling or the grammar error. This will help to improve the organization's professionalism. And the seventh, plagiarism detection. The FDR tool should be able to detect the plagiarism or the copyright infringement within the work product. This will help to avoid any legal repercussion or destroy the company's professional reputation. And the last one, the capability of auto-archiving. The FDR tool should be able to archive the work product and the review summary report automatically and have the capability to backtrack if needed. This will help to store as review evidence for quality auditing purposes. Review can be considered effective only if the FDR identified the gap at the right time. If it fails to achieve this, will indicate that the review is not effective. Therefore, it is important to track and record the gaps that do not identify at the right time in a retrospective review. Data collectors for improvement purposes express the progress over time and inspire the team to further improve, refining their products to achieve intended outcome. Review data require time to accumulate to define the powerful metrics to strengthen the review process. Here are some of the recommended metrics. Mean time per issue log. This is to measure the average time spent per issue log per reviewer. Adding more reviewer to each review could expedite the review process, but it depends on the reviewer expertise and skill set. Total reviewers' effort in a specific review. This is to measure the effectiveness of the review process based on the total time spent and the total numbers of issue logged in the tools per reviewer. The greater numbers of the reviewers being invited into a review may result in more review comments being logged. Total escape issue by time or by cost. This metric measures whether each assigned reviewers has the expertise to perform an effective review. However, the work product with the fewer defects does not mean that the quality is excellent. It could be due to the reviewers who do not have the sufficient knowledge or expertise in the review. Issue priority. It is to compare the issue arrival based on the priority. It is critical for the author to address and resolve the issue with the highest priority over the other issue. This table shows the high-level summaries of the FDR metrics based on the actual information captured on software architecture and design document review and improvement. In general, an effective FDR will adhere to the 3 guidelines. The total defects captured is equal or less than 50. The total reviewer's time is equal or less than 3 hours. And the escape defect is equal or less than 20%. These are some tips on how to improve the metrics if they slip. Evaluating the user experience on the FDR tools and the other FDR-related guidance at an organization is important and should not be missed. A strategy without the metrics is like flying blind without the indicators. Hence, the clear metrics should be identified in our use case like review feedback, issue logs, and time spent in review. The customer experience focus on the 3 areas. It tracks the journeys of touch point the customer may have with the product and services. Similarly, the user experience includes all the touch points the employee has with an organization throughout their journey, including the onboarding, engagement, development, and growth. User experience metrics mainly focus on the ease of use. The employee experience in the FDR cover the review performance of the FDR guidelines and the FDR tools. In different areas of the review throughout the software development lifecycle, the information gathered from the review indicator turn them into a measurable metrics for further process improvement. And one of the methods to collect the employee experience is via a short survey that you can use this kind of a short survey to collect all the user feedback on the overall experience, the sufficient info to start the review, and so on. You can define your question here. Benchmarking is an organizational tool to drive the continuous improvement using the best practices. Data collections from the FDR process may help organizations to develop a process for benchmarking their FDR works by accumulating and comparing the data and tuning it into an acceptable value. Benchmarking focuses on the 3 areas. Establishing the benchmark value for each metric. The review process is critical to ensure that the effectiveness of the review performance for each review. Gap analysis is performed when the actual review output is mismatched to the benchmark value and could be far from the acceptable range. A deep dive into the root cause analysis should be carried out when the review's metric diverge from the benchmark and continuously drive further process improvement. It is recommended to continue to fine-tune the benchmark value so more accurate benchmark value can be archived. So we have talked about the user experience and benchmarking. The quality data is the outcome of both the user experience and benchmarking best practices. The information captured, the information is captured based on the actual FDR meeting from the feature requirements. The chart shows a total of the 3 FDR meetings conducted for the 3 reviews feature, the FDR1, FDR2, and FDR3. Based on the actual data captured from the FDR reviews from the different projects, we can confidently set a disclaimer that without an FDR review being conducted, at least 60% of the valid defect might escape without awareness and release to the market. Let me conclude the topic with the following. In these presentations, we provide a detailed explanations of the FDR, which include the overviews, objectives, type of reviews, the role and responsibility. Meanwhile, we also listed the recommendations for the FDR enhancement, which we believe can elevate the FDR capability to a new level. The key benefits of the FDR to the organizations are clear. Is to improve the work product quality and identify the potential defects upfront to avoid any unnecessary costs being imposed in the post-release defect fixing. It is more about managing the cost more intelligently. We need to invest the time upfront to do this analysis upfront, rather than spend a lot of time doing the reworks when the defects are identified late in the validation process. These are the few key takeaways from this topic. You understand what is the FDR process and its important, and able to define the FDR objectives and role and responsibility. You also get to know the different types of review, including the formal review, and learn how to conduct an effective FDR. Learn about the FDR process enhancement on the FDR guidelines and FDR tools, and the benefit that brings to the organizations in long run. And you're able to define the FDR review metrics, including the user experience, benchmarking, and quality data. With this, I'm ending my presentation on this topic. I would like to take this opportunity to thank my co-author, my manager, my co-author Wei Wei, matrons, and Pings, and my managers and the Intel software quality leadership team for their kind support. Thanks also to the PNSQC committee for the guidance. And for more details about this topic, please refer to the full paper.